Okay, let's continue our lecture 5 on the second part of time value of money. In this part, we will study the multiple equal cash flows. And this part is the most important part of lecture 5. Please take more time to study. We will study the annuities and perpetuities in this lecture. First, let's define the annuity. Annuities, as the name shows to us, annual means annual, means when something happened annually. But in essence, annuities not means the annual payment, but means the equal payments can be repeated and regular intervals. Please pay attention, right? Even a name called annual, but this one can be paid monthly, quarterly, daily, or yearly, can be on different time intervals. But most important, these payments must be equal and finite. You can count how many payments made. Suppose your payments are made at the end of each period. It is called ordinary annuity. But if the payments are paid at the beginning of each period, it is called annuity due. Sometimes we have special cash flows. The annuities are paid infinitely. So we have an infinite series of equal payments. In such case, we have a special name for this kind of annuity called a permanent annuity, perpetuities. This is the cash flows calculations use annuity and perpetuities. You don't need to memorize the formula like we always show in these two lectures. We will use our financial calculators to do this calculation. For perpetuities, there's nothing you can do. Use our calculators. We will use the formula directly, but this formula is very straightforward and very easy. Present value is equal to the perpetuity equal payments divided by the interest rate. For annuity, the formula looks a little bit tricky and not easy to memorize. And if you do the calculations, it's also not easy to catch. So we will prefer to use our financial calculators. On the financial calculators, there's a special key for the payment exactly on our financial calculators surface, right? You can see the payment, the PMT. This key is designed for the payment for the annuity. So we will use this one frequently in this lecture to show how to solve the annuity. And don't memorize this step, right? This step is not very good. Just ignore this one. I don't want you to switch the mode, because if you switch the mode to the beginning, but if you forget to switch the mode back, your other questions will have big problems, especially during a financial test with so many questions to choose the answer in a CFA test. You will totally lost when you switch the mode forward and backward, right? It's not good, right? So this is not good, right? In our applications, just ignore this one. We will show a different way to do the annuity due. Now use this mode. Let's see some questions. After carefully going over your budget, you have determined you can afford to pay $632 per month towards a new sports car. You call up your local bank and found out that the going rate is 1% per month for 48 months. How much can you borrow? If you use the formula, you say that's the formula. But, like I mentioned, we will prefer use our financial calculators. Let's see how to do this one. You will borrow the money now to buy this car and pay the money back in the future monthly by what? By 48 months. What you borrowed is something happened earlier, so that's something you need to solve. What's the value here represent? You pay this amount every month. So that's annuity. So that's the payment. And your interest rate per month is 1%. And for how many months? 48 months. So based on these three inputs, you solve the present values. And you can see if you don't put a negative sign here, your PV shown on the screen will be negative. If you put negative sign here, this one will be positive. So based on this one, you can say you can actually bought a $24,000 car. Most likely a Toyota, right? Yeah, I think Toyota car, right? You can buy in USA. Next one. Suppose you win a lottery called the Publishers Clearing House, right? 10 million sweepstake. Wow, that's great. The money is paid in an equal annual end-of-year installments. In the finance questions, every word has its meaning, don't forget. So end of years basically means what? Means the ordinary annuity, right? You know, if the money paid at the beginning of the period is the annuity due, if paid at the end, it's ordinary annuity. If the appropriate discount rate is 5%, what's the value of these instruments on today's market? Okay, how many payments? 30. What's the payment amount? 333. 33333. That's the PMT. What's the discount rate? 5%. So 5 as what? IY. You solve the something happened earlier PV. So you can see what's the PV use these calculations. About what? About $5.12 million. Let's double check this one and your calculator. Look at this number. Compare with 10 million. What do you found? Only half of the win price you get. Why? Because this money is not paid directly to you, but separate into a 30 payments from now, year by year. And you know the time value of money in the future will be less than the value right now. So based on a compounding rate, the value of the future instruments only half of the winning price. Next one. Saving for retirement. You are offered opportunities to put some money away for your retirement. You will receive 5 annual payments, $25,000 each. Be careful, this is not received right now, but beginning in 40 years, right? So after 40 years, you will receive the first payment. Then in the next 5 years, you will continue to receive the next 4 payments. So based on these cash flows, how much you're willing to pay to invest? Suppose the desired rate of interest is 12%. Before you do any calculations on your calculators or on the papers, don't forget, if we have a long time span and the cash flows happen to, to show on a different time, you'd better to draw a what? Cash flow lines to label these cash flows to help you to solve these questions more accurate. So let's draw these lines. We have what? 0 to 40. You have no payments, right? Your first payments will start on the 40. Then have the what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see, starting from 40 years, last payment will be made on the 44th year, not 45. If you don't draw this time cash line, right? You don't draw this time cash lines, you will possibly make a mistake to put the last one on the 45 because 40 plus 5 is 45. That's what you think. However, you ignore the 40 itself is the first payment are made. So it's better to draw the cash flow lines. Okay, let's move on. So we have the 25K for the 5 years. You can basically solve the what? The PV of these equal payments, annuity payments, right? So 25K as what? PMT. And our interest rate in the question is 12%. For how many years? 5 years. You solve what? You solve the PV. What you solved for this one? Be careful. It's not the cash flows values, present values on time 0. Right? The present values for these 5 cash flows can only discounted to the time 39. That's very, very important for these questions. While you do the discounting process, you can only get discounted value for the future multiple cash flows to the one period before the first payment. Please write this one down, right? You can only solve the present values one period before the first payment. Before the first payment, right? You can say your hand is not long enough to touch the 0, right? You can only stretch to the 39, not long enough to a 0. Keep this one in mind, right? So what you solve the PV is here, is on the 39. You will do one more step to discounting this cash flow to the time 0 to solve the eventual present value on time 0. So let's put these two steps together and write the calculations down on this slide. So I will write down these two steps for these questions. Please take some notes. The first step, we will solve the PV of annuity, right? That's something we have done here, right? So I will write this one together, right? 25K payment, 12 IY, 5 as N, and we solve the PV, right? We solve the PV on the 39. That's the first step. And let's see the second step. That's our discounting process from 39 to time what? Time 0. So second step is for here. Our future values is something you solved here. You can put into the future value. Then our discount rate will be still 12%. And these cash flows will be directly into time 0. It's not a multiple cash flow anymore, right? So it's no payment, just the time. Times 39 as N. We compute present value. So there are two steps. In the first step, you solve the present value of annuity on 39. Then second step, you bring the 39's future values as a single cash flow to discount it to time 0. Use our discounting process. So this is the two step for these questions. One more step. You are ready to buy a house. You have $20,000 for a down payment and closing costs. Closing costs are estimated to be 4% of the loan value. You have annual salary of $36,000, and the bank is willing to allow you monthly mortgage payment to be equal to 28% of your monthly income. Suppose your loan interest is 6% annually, and you apply for a 30-year fixed rate loans. So the question 1, how much money will the bank loan give to you? Next, how much can you offer for the house? I'm not sure anyone in our group has the experience to buy a house to apply for a mortgage. If you never bought a house or never applied the mortgage, maybe you don't have the intuitions. Let me give you some background. In a mortgage market, you will apply for loans, and you need to make a down payment first, and also pay the brokers and the bank. This is called a closing cost. After you make this down payment and closing cost, remaining value of the house you didn't pay is called a what? Mortgage. And mortgage is a loan, right? Loan is you need to pay the interest. And this will be separate into what? Into the monthly payment based on how many years you apply for these loans. It will be divided by the months to get equal payments every month. But this payments is including what? Interest. Okay, so that's the intuitions for these questions, the background. If you have anything you are not sure, you can leave the message in the Ding. We can try to answer your questions based on what you have. Let's say what's the monthly income you have, you can pay for the loan, right? Your annual income is 36,000, but our mortgage for the house is made by monthly. So you need to solve the monthly payment you can afford to pay. 36,000 over 12, that's your monthly income. You can only allow to use your 28% of your monthly income to pay the loan. It's not allowed, right? The legal regulations require the appliers can only put a portion of the income to pay the mortgage. Remaining money you need to support your daily expense like the grocery, rent, and the other living expense. You cannot put all the income to pay the mortgage. It's not make sense. It doesn't make sense, right? So 36,000 over 12 will be 3,000. 3,000 is your monthly income times 28% will be what? $840. That's your monthly payment for the mortgage. 840, right? 840. That's the monthly payment. What's the loan interest? 6% is annual rate divided by 12. 6 over 12 equal to 0.5%. So 0.5 is interest rate. And for how many months? Be careful. We have the monthly payment, so we have how many months? 30 times 12 equal to what? 360 months. 360 months. This is how you will pay back to the bank. You can solve the PV. That's the loan amount you apply for. That's the mortgage amount. So that's what you say on this calculation here. You can say our mortgage is equal to the $105. That's the whole package of the loan amount. This is a calculation of the annuity we just studied in today's class. Next one will be something for the, for the sense of the mortgage and house purchase. You can see here. The closing costs are estimated to the 4% of the loan value and 20,000 including both loan cost and down payment. So this is the loan value. Loan times 4% will be the closing cost. That's the 5604. And 20,000 including both down payment and closing cost. So this one including both closing cost and down payment. So we take this closing cost out. Will be what? Will be the down payment. So we minus 5604. Down payment equal to what? $14,396. That's the down payment. Down payment plus the loan, remaining loan for this house, right? This mortgage plus down payment equal to what? Equal to the house price when you purchase the house, right? What's the total price? Is 154,501. So that's the value of the house on the market when you purchase this house and sign a contract, right? Now let's go over this question again. So when you purchase a house, first you need to make a down payment. And this house value, suppose it's the price, right? So price minus the down payment will be equal to what? Mortgage. And mortgage will separate into what? Monthly payment. In addition to the down payment and mortgage, you also need to pay the fee to the broker, to the dealer, right? To the inspector, to the bank, So this is called what? This total called closing cost. Closing cost is based on the size of the mortgage. And the down payment is also, part of the house price. You must to know these connections for this term. Then you can solve this question easily. And I will not go to the detail for these payment questions for this car. You can try to solve this one by yourself. Follow these instructions. We will check another questions in the next class when we do a review, and it will help you to, study the payment again for the annuity calculations. Number of payments, right, for the calculations. These questions, be careful, right? You need to pay attention to the sign conventions. What is the sign conventions we mentioned in the last class? What you pay now and future, they have a different sign to make the calculation to be valid. If not, it will turn to be error on your calculator, like this one. You borrow this one now, so this is a what? PV. And you make the payments back in the future, so this is our what? Future cash flow. And it's what? Annual payments made equally for many years, so that's the payment annuity. But this one should be what? Should be different sign with this PV. So the PV is 2000, payment will be minus 734.42. After these three inputs, you can solve the n, how many years. Okay, so let's follow annuity questions. We have the questions for the perpetuities and annuities on our assignment. So we will not go to the other questions for now, right? We will check more practice questions on our website and in our next lectures. Before we go to the next part of today's lectures, let me give you one questions for the perpetuities. For perpetuities, it's equal payments made what? Infinite. In a financial market, there's a special financial instrument. They have this certain pattern of the payments made infinitely. It's called what? Preferred stock. So preferred stock is a stock has a special feature, not like a common stock. The preferred stock is not in the public, is not on the stock market, but actually held by some individuals and institutions. Preferred stock will pay what? Pay dividend. And this dividend will be paid what? Permanently. That's very special, right? If the company not go to bankruptcy, right? If the natural holder of this preferred stock not die, we suppose this cash flow will be paid infinitely, right? Infinitely. Let me show you one question. Suppose a company sold a preferred stock to the Jack, and this preferred stock pay dividend quarterly. quarterly. So every 3 months, Jack will receive dividend from his preferred stock holding for $4 each share. Return of this preferred stock or interest rate of this preferred stock is 4% annually. My question is, what's the value of this preferred stock on today's market? Or you can say, what's the price of the preferred stock on today's market? We will use our preferred stock formula, or you can say Perpetuities formula to solve this one. The price of a preferred stock on today's market is something called what? Present values. We know our Perpetuities present values equal to the C over R. C is the periodical payment. That's a $4 per share every quarter. That's dividend the Jack received. What's interest rate you should put here? Is something I want to emphasize in these questions. You must pay more attention. This is the annual rate, but we have the dividend paid quarterly. So this one should be adjusted accordingly. Based on this quarterly, we must have the 4 over 4. That's the quarterly rate. Will be 1%. So 4 over 1% equal to 4 over 0.01 equal to $400. So if the Jack decide to buy this stock, the value of the stock on today's market should be $400. So this is a case for the Perpetuities. So we will use the formula here directly. So that's all. That's for the part of the annuity and perpetuities.